This is Brian Gordon with Chapter 5 of the Spellgrazer Saga. Chapter 5, Curious Habit. The mass attack had taken its toll on them, so before rounding the final corner and returning to the castle's front, they rested a moment. Parched throats welcomed the sweet taste of water that had been hidden away in Chandra's pouch, and rumbling stomachs invited small bits of arcane-infused rolls that she had also produced. Their intermission did not last long, and they made their way back to their starting point rather quickly. With no more threats of ambush, it was time to enter the looming structure in front of them. Demons were not too terribly cautious when it came to domestic protection. The doors were unlocked and swung open freely. Dunmal entered first, shield ready for anything lurking around the edges that may decide they were not welcome. Shandra made a sniffling noise and wiggled her nose until the torch on the wall exploded to life with a happily flickering flame. They were in an antechamber with torn tapestries lining the wall, doors in every direction. Once again, they went left, the doors all unlocked as they progressed through the rooms filled with painting and remnants of once lush furnishings, but mostly tattered remains and the occasional skeleton. Blood and corpses were fairly common in the new decorative scheme set out by the demons. Time had ripened the air, thick with death and decay. For the most part, the rooms were uninhabited. At least twice, a small nest of minions dashed out at them, but Dunmal's shield weighed heavily on their skulls, and their efforts were put to rest. Ransa had coated his blades with more of his poisons as well, and stood on the side of each door that they opened, in case anything made it past Dunmal. Shandra and Barlo held up the rear and prepared to hold back anything that might try to sneak up on them. Along the entire left side of the castle they found very little resistance, which led them to believe that it would be lurking further ahead, perhaps gathered in the main chamber. Moving like a shadow in the night, Ransa went ahead of the rest when they reached the end of the chain of rooms. He found a room with another massive door, presumably the back door, set into a large spiraled staircase that led up into the tower. Behind him along the interior wall was a large opening that led into the main chamber of the castle. Demons sat, lounging really, in small groups. Large demons, little demons, and a few ugly faces he had never encountered before. These demons had weapons, too. Very likely the same weapons that had once been used against them by the less successful adventurers the Donkey King had sent in before them, and looked as though they would be more than happy to use them as tools to tear their flesh, and then utensils while dining on them. It came as a little surprise to them, but they decided it would be wise to clear a ring around the castle first, to put down any strays that may be lurking about. The larger confrontation would be easier that way, no surprises coming in from behind. One by one, each member crept past the stairs as the demons sat in their chamber, quarreling amongst themselves, bickering over scraps and bones. Ransa had opened the door across the way for them, which opened up into another dreary room lit only by the slowly fading light from outside. They had come across nothing of relative value, but they all kept their eyes open for anything that might fetch a price. Room by room, they cleared the other side of the castle with no resistance at all. They had looped back to the antechamber they had come in through, and decided to form a plan before assaulting the main chamber. Nearly a dozen of the foul scourge waiting for someone to eat, they would have to make use of all of their talents to ensure survival. A full-on battle was inevitable, but they planned to keep it in their favor as best they could through a tactical combination of strength and speed. It was a quick trip through the series of rooms back to the stairway that led directly into the demonic horde, though they stopped one door short to prepare. More of Ransa's poisons coated his weapons. Dunmal pulled his gauntlets tight and secured his grip on sword and shield. Barlo's halo gleamed brightly as he invoked a powerful blessing on them, a rejuvenatory call that would keep their wounds to a minimum for a period of time. Shandra waved her fingers through a complex spell, and all of them were accompanied by orbiting spheres of lightning. A small bolt surged and crackled around each of them with eager delight. The doors swung open, and they filed through, clustering near the staircase. A quick word from Barlo, and Dunmal rushed through the large opening. At once, there were 3 of the minions charging at them, but they fell short as Chandra's bolts jumped from one to another. 4 of the larger demons were right behind them and swinging at Dunmal in short time. Most of the blows glanced off of his shield, the others missed entirely, while he shoved his heavy blade through the midsection of one of them. Ransa had dug his dagger into 2 of them by the time Dunmal had kicked the slain beast off of his blade, and the poisons were already taking effect. Both Barlo and Shandra had moved in from behind the wall as well, each calling out a phrase known only to themselves while a dazzling showcase of magic lights filled the air. Dunmal kept swinging his blade around, which knocked 2 of the remaining demons against a wall, where a dagger and saber flew through the air and into their sides. From one of the sheaths, he produced another blade, dodged an attack from his side, and came up at another demon's shoulder while a stiletto ripped along its torso. Barlo was calling out incoming attacks for them as he finished off the injured beasts with his blessings. Ransa and Dunmal thrashed them heavily before leaving them to him. The power of the light flowed through him and shone brightly as the room was cleansed of the wicked monsters. Shandra had blasted the last 2 of the horde into another corner and kept pressure on them from afar while he continued to turn body to ash. A heavy blade stilled any lingering scraps while Ransa collected his weapons from the various walls and corners of the room they had become lodged in. Successful in their efforts, they gathered in joy and regained their strength for a moment before pressing onward up the set of stairs near the back door. Another antechamber led into a large, dark hallway that ran the center of the castle, with rooms scattered along both sides. Darkness greeted them, no windows along the hall, only torches set between doors. Each took a position against a wall and cautioned a glance down the hallway, but nothing stirred between the gloomy walls. Quietly, they moved up to a door on the left-hand side, and Dunmal opened it, shield at the ready. Two small imp-like minions scrabbled toward the crew, but a heavy boot stopped their advance long enough for Ransa to carve his initials into their hides. Barlo's halo flickered as they turned to scattered dusts. The room held nothing but a few tattered beds and a broken window, and the room across the hall was even less interesting. Upon further investigation of the rooms in the hallway, they found that each room was separate, unlike the floor below, and for this reason they were used far less frequently by the demons. Some had merely seen years of abandon take their toll on them. With virtually nothing of interest on the second floor, Dunmal led them back the way they had come. They continued up the staircase, which they found opened into a larger room above the height of the main building. Shelves surrounded the walls, ancient books and tomes of history from a time long before the Great Cataclysm. Tables stretched across the room, and large windows reached from floor to ceiling between the shelves. It was dark outside. The moonlight filtered through the windows as it hung high in the night sky. Shandra sniffled once more, and torches around the room erupted into flame. A most curious habit, Dunmal noted. Set into the wall were more stairs that led up to a heavy wooden door. They climbed up, one behind the other, where Ransa went to work on the lock with a set of picks he produced from one of his belts. Tumblers clicked into place as he carefully worked his way through the lock. Whatever was lurking behind that door was more cautious than the residents of the lower floors. He slowly opened the door, Dunmal at the ready near his back, and moved in. A strange green light was bouncing on the walls, shadows dancing along the edges. The doorway was connected to a short hall of only a few feet. Barely enough room to fit them all, which entered into the larger room. Another small hallway opened up across from theirs that led to the next section of stairs. Along the walls within the main room, they could see strange scrolls and an assortment of obscure collected objects gathered onto shelves. Shandra went pale. Thank you for joining me for Chapter 5.